Okay, welcome back to the main section of today's podcast, where I'm here to welcome my very special guest today. It's Michele Stodart. Hello, Michele Stodart.
Hey, Dan, how you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you today?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having us on your show.
No, not a problem at all. You're very welcome, and thank you for coming on to the show as well. I've got so much to ask you about, actually, because in a turn of events that has happened in my last two recordings, actually, I am able to say that I've been a fan of yours probably for a lot longer than you think, because I've been a fan of yours probably since I was about 14 or 15 years old, when I first got a copy of the self-titled album by the Magic Numbers, and I've
Yeah.
always loved that record ever since. So I have been a fan for a very long time. So it's very, very much, something I've been looking forward to speaking with you. I do want to start, though, as I normally do with an artist, and I want to start at the beginning of where things began and work through kind of chronologically, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So the first question I usually ask most artists to kind of gauge this is, what music was playing that you were first hearing in the household when you were growing up?
Yeah, it's a good place to start, right? Right at the
Yeah.
beginning. Yeah, totally. So I was born in Trinidad, so and a lot of people, well, maybe know now, but at the time, and actually a big sort of culture musically over there, as well as calypso and soca music. There was country music was really popular in Trinidad at the time growing up, and our family always listened to loads of like Patsy Cline and Hank Williams and Elvis, and a lot of gospel and country music, and but also it was just like and Carpenters as well. The main thing that was the sort of attraction, how we always kind of explained music growing up, was it had to be a great song, a song that can hit you and move you. And I think for me, genres can kind of get in the way a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we sort of grew up a lot in on singer-songwriters and songs with like big full melodies and catchy and but that really kind of hooked you in, really. So I remember my uncle and playing music on his huge like stereo. Everything's gotten much smaller now, but
Yeah.
on this big sort of like the bigger the better back then.
Yeah.
um,
Exactly.
and it was just a total moment for us growing up, and that kind of traveled with us as a family, and music was always kind of the constant, but we moved around a lot as kids, so it was always kind of like put on a record and we all get together in the living room, and my mom would start singing, and yeah.
So it's a
You'll
complete
tend to hear me ramble a lot after one question, Dan.
You carry on, because that is the mark of a perfect guest. I always say to guests, if you're someone who can talk, you make my job 10 times easier when you do that, honestly.
Okay, no, it's all good.
Music growing up for you obviously seems to be a quite a family affair, and obviously that does become quite significant later down the line. Before we get to that, I do want to ask, though, when you just started discovering your own music taste away from the family and started listening to the music that you were choosing specifically.
Do you mean like when that was?
Yeah, when and what it was as well, I should say.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think yeah, because my brother Romeo, who's lead singer in Numbers, he kind of was like sort of the leading sort of one on the music. He got a Gibson electric guitar and like a Les Paul, and he learned loads of Slash, like Guns N' Roses lead electric guitar lines, and he wanted to be a guitarist, and so that was his sort of driving force, and he'd learn a lot of stuff that way. And I sort of kind of watched him and sort of grew up with his music and the sort of stuff that was kind of being playing on the stereos for my family and all of that. And I think only till like when we moved to New York, I guess we listened. I remember a memory sort of listening to the radio and hearing
Mm.
Emmylou Harris, and I think it was Ryan Adams, and
Mm.
they were singing. I think it's Sweet Carol, not Sweet Caroline. Oh God. Anyway, I'm terrible with names, song titles. But yeah, one of his songs from Heartbreaker,
Mm.
and it came on the radio, and for me that was kind of a moment of like, oh, there was like a bit of a penny drop of like, I kind of started hearing music like that as sort of like possible for me to, it was like
Mm.
there was a different avenue that I could kind of go down and start like listening to music in that way. And I remember getting like a little cassette that I would play like until the tape was worn and warped. And I would go to college and I'd listen to it on my Walkman, and I'd walk to college, and it would be like a compilation of loads of different country artists,
Yeah.
like Emmylou and Linda Ronstadt and
Mm.
Tammy Wynette, and all of those sort of like classic kind of like.
Yeah.
And I grew up with that, I think, and that was my kind of pathway into like female singer-songwriters who were doing their thing, and
Yeah.
it definitely felt separate to my brother in that
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
And that kind of that comes back quite significantly again later on, and you can see kind of where that takes you. And even for me, like even in the Magic Numbers, it's the style of music still has this sort of roots element there, and that does kind of still run through. When did you start playing music yourself then? And because I've seen you live, funny enough, twice. I've seen you with Hannah White both times, but one time you were doing a support slot to help her out, and the other time you went on stage and joined her. We actually stood next to each other watching her that night, funny enough.
Oh,
And
I think I remember. Yeah, that's right.
exactly. Yeah. And because you did say you recognized me when we were sort of organizing this, I was like, well, that's why I was right next to you.
I think we had a little bit of a boogie together,
Yes,
actually.
probably yes, probably yes. Hannah's great, so easy to dance to
she's
Hannah.
amazing.
But yeah, no. When did you start playing music yourself and picking up guitars and things like that?
So I picked up, like I said, like so when we moved to London, I think that was when I started playing, because my mum and dad gave my brother the front room in our house, and it was like he had a band with Sean, actually, the drummer in the Magic Numbers,
Yeah.
and they were playing gigs, and they were but they needed a space to rehearse, so they kindly gave him the living room.
Yeah.
And I remember sort of egg boxing and putting mattresses up on the wall and up against the fireplace and the windows, and pretty soon our lovely sort of living room turned into a studio, really.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the kind of, I'd say that a lot of the magic sort of happened, in the sense of like he had these two 8 tracks at the time with zip discs recording, and I'd get sort of called in to kind of press record whilst he'd be demoing and recording these tracks that with his band. And every time he'd sort of leave the acoustic guitar or any kind of guitar lying around, I would sort of kind of take it to my room and start writing songs. And I think writing songs, and I used to write a little bit with my younger brother as well, and we wrote some songs together. And yeah, so the family was very much all about music, my mum would get us to do little performances, and yeah, so I started writing songs, and Romeo taught me a couple chords on the guitar, and that was it. It was never, I don't think I ever thought I was going to be doing what he was doing, which was like a band. It was more about just kind of doing these secret kind of songs that I was writing.
Yeah.
and then later on, different band members of his band left, and they were working, and they went to work, and they sort of didn't sort of stick with the band. And then it was just him and Sean. And then he asked me every now and again to like pick up the bass, and I was like, because he knew I was playing guitar, so he was like, oh, you can play it, you can play the bass. And he showed me a couple things, and I didn't know any of the notes on the bass, but I just fell in love with it. I got insanely obsessed, and I would take the bass then to my bedroom, and I'd sort of have the bass in bed with me, and wake up and fall asleep with it. And I wanted to sort of make up all these lines, and he started writing songs that was then with more backing vocals, and then me and Angela joined the band, and that's how it sort of started in that sense. And they're very much kind of linked in a way, because it all kind of happened in that room and in that house. So
well, this is the point in the interview where I'm going to ask you to forgive me, because I'm probably going to ask you questions that you have been asked a million times over the last 20 years. And the problem is, if I didn't do it, people are going to go, why didn't you ask this, that? So I'm going to, and I'm more for myself as well, because I want to ask. So obviously we've got, two families making a band, right? The Cannons and the Stodarts, become the Magic Numbers. First of all, can you tell us what it's like to be, because we all know, also, I'm going to say this, we all know what the dynamic can be like when there's usually, most of the time, it's two brothers in a band that we know of, because we know the Gallaghers, we know, the Davies brothers, we know all this. So I'm going to ask what it's like to have a sibling in a band, but I'm actually going to ask more in terms of what's it like to be in a band as a brother and sister, and because there's two of you as well, two brothers and sisters. So how does that, what's the dynamic of that just like?
Oh, well, you did ask how long we had, right? I mean, and I understand why people ask this question. I really do, because it isn't like,
it's not common.
It's not the done thing, exactly. And for many reasons as well, I think, like, I can understand also why bands wouldn't do it. Anytime anyone sort of talks about it, they're always like, oh, I could never be in a band with my sister. I could never be. So yeah, I mean, I think, like, from a musical point of view, I think Romy and I, when we play music together, it's very instinctual. Like, we sort of finish each other's kind of, musical phrases or conversation. We're just in the pocket together, like harmony wise, and like ideas. And sometimes it's funny because we'll like come up with, not the same lick, but we'll come up with something in the same spot that we're hearing, and we sort of look at each other. So those things are really joyful. And Ange, she really, like, her vocals, so like the blend between us, like, it's almost like she is sister as well, And I think it's because we kind of grew up, we all went to school together, we grew up singing together, so the blend between the three of us singing is it's like a family. So I think in so many ways, in that sense, musically, it's beautiful, and it's untouchable and we definitely have magic together. but yeah, I think on another side of it, it's absolutely it's hugely difficult as well. And I think growing up together in a band, 20 years now, has been a journey, for all of us, because as you're growing up, and even family dynamics, without some, without kind of work included, it's always gonna be tricky, right? So so trying to add that with functioning as a band and doing all of those things as well. It's hard to kind of manage, I think, at times. And I remember when we first started and the first record came out, Romy and I are just so like music, like headstrong, like driven in that sense. And so we were such a team and such a like wanting everything and on the same page with everything as well. But it meant that we, like, at times we barely sort of spoke to each other as brother and sister, for a long time. And because we were on the road and things were moving so fast, and it was such like a snowball effect when the first record came out, that it was definitely hard. And we went straight in with the second album, and and then I became a mom, and and then all these things sort of like to juggle. It was it's been a journey, and it's been like and I think being a family band adds that extra kind of unexpected kind of pressures, and but also beauty as well, really.
It's that added connection and love for each other that kind of makes up for all those those more difficult moments that are there, that are extra.
That can be painful as well. That can be painful because we love each other so much that we want everyone to be happy. That it's kind of that's hard to manage as well.
It's a classic band dynamic in terms of making sure everybody's happy within a band is always going to be a struggle. It's always going to be a struggle to do that.
It's a relationship, isn't it? It's a relationship
of working with people, isn't it?
Yeah, I said it's like a long-term relationship, and you have to keep that sort of keep everything going smooth and well.
As best you can. Well, I need to ask you again. It's a million times question, but I do have to ask about that debut album, the self-titled album. It's 20 years. 20 years in June is when it was released, and I mean, obviously it was a hugely successful album. And I speak to a lot of artists, and I review music for Northern Exposure as well, which is obviously a predominantly indie alt rock, alt pop magazine, and I speak to a lot of artists, and one album that does come up regularly is the debut Magic Numbers record. It constantly comes up with inspiration, and I feel like the band just so tight at the time and everything. But my question to you is, what was it like having, because this is the question I don't get to ask artists all the time, because not every artist has that level of success that I speak to, and what's it like having an album go into the top 10 of the charts and be really successful, and what's that like?
It's crazy. It's I think we're all, I speak for everyone in the band, we're all super grateful for that time. And it was a sort of mad time to kind of come out as well as the band that we were. We were sort of alongside all these kind of indie bands, and to kind of like to break and make our own kind of path. As the four of us, it's been a huge accomplishment that we can look back on, just kind of appreciate and feel grateful for everyone that kind of got behind us and fell in love with that record. And we love playing all those songs on the album, mostly because of the response. When we stand on stage and we see people singing along to songs like I See You and Love Me Like You and Love's a Game, and all those sort of songs on the first record, there's nothing like it. And then you hear stories like you said, it's and I think, like, when you sort of you say, oh, we've been nominated for the Mercury and the top 10 singles and all of that, those are like they're like the quick fire stories that you know that people will kind of use. But my brother and Sean, they were going as a band for 10 years.
Mm.
Then me and Ange joined, and we were together as a 4-piece for two and a bit years. And then it all sort of kicked off. And so you have to kind of imagine going from this tiny bedroom, this tiny living room, to then suddenly being in the charts and doing like Glastonbury and you know, supporting all these amazing bands that we got a chance to support. You know, going on the road with Neil Young and like, you know,
I'm jealous of that.
I mean, I know.
I
mean,
love Neil Young.
I feel like it's crazy. It's like, and you know, I pinch myself still to this day, like, you know, to have experienced all of that, and to still have the sort of the kind of, you know, the credibility and the love for the band, I think, you know, and it took us a long sort of, it took us some tough decisions to stay the band that we are, you know, and to kind of, and yes, we lost some people along the way, and we changed a lot of people that weren't good for us as well, you know. So it's a tough old industry, you know. It's you never know when it's there and when it's going to go, and when you know, when suddenly it sort of comes back at you and you're like, I wasn't expecting this, you know. So
no, I mean, well, one time when you were a beneficiary of the industry, or a benefit you got from the industry, I guess, would be, and I really want to ask about this because I've never had the chance to ask anyone about this, because most of the artists I've had on the podcast, if they were around during the time of these shows, they were, you know, they weren't at their peak yet, or they started after the shows had ended. I need to ask you about Top of the Pops and things like CD UK, and what's it like going on those institutional shows. And also I just found the episode you were on, actually, the amount of bands on that episode was incredible. I was shocked. And then you think back, you look at the chart listings for those weeks and you go, there were a lot of bands in the charts again. You're like, but yeah, what's the experience of Top of the Pops and shows like that like?
I mean, I'd say that those are probably, and this isn't like, hopefully this doesn't come across, you know, arrogant in any way, but I'd say it's probably the smallest of all the things that we've done. You know, it's like, yes, it, like Top of the Pops is this iconic kind of show, but I think, you know, we got the chance to say that we're on Top of the Pops, but that we also walked off Top of the Pops. So that was, I think, our claim to to say, you know, a little bit of like you said, those institutional kind of programs where, you know, they essentially kind of wear you down, and try to shape you and try to mold you into this you know, thing. But you know, it was, again, that was probably like a huge turning point for the fact that we kind of stood our ground and you know, held our integrity and sort of realized that it wasn't the biggest thing that we could do, or that, you know, that and it was probably the best thing that we did in terms of like, for ourselves, more so than anything. We didn't think of anything after that, really. But much sort of, it's more about the playing live and connecting with people in many ways.
Well, I find it really fascinating you say that, actually, because obviously over the years I've watched documentaries about especially Top of the Pops. There's loads of them about that, and so many artists have a similar experience. So I kind of like the fact that I'm actually speaking to someone who had that experience, because it validates those, what people are saying. They're not just saying it necessarily for clout or anything to say that. It's genuinely those kind of experiences were true. You mentioned playing live there a second ago. Magic Numbers going on tour, or you might have already even started the tour. I don't know, but I know when the London date is because I'm going and I've got a ticket.
All right,
so I will be seeing you there. I'll be seeing you there. But can you just tell people about the tour as well, just so if they do want to pick up a ticket and come and see you, they can?
Sure. Yeah, we're playing in December. on the 13th at the London Forum in Kentish Town.
Yeah.
And that venue for us is really special because it was the first big London show that we sort of sold out before any record had come out. We just released this little 7-inch, and yeah, the show sort of sold out so quickly. And so it was like a moment where we kind of was like, okay, there's, you know, our people are out there, you know. And you know, we spent a long time, and to any sort of bands, like, you know, we spent such a long time doing the London circuit, and sort of playing loads of open mic nights, and, you know, jumping the trains, and with all our sort of gear and things to kind of make a show that we weren't going to make any money on, and I, you know, I think, and people kind of, it was all word of mouth, you know, there wasn't any online advertising, and everything was word of mouth. So it was like, hey, go and check out this band. And, you know, that was like, so, you know, we really owe it to people kind of meeting up at the pub before the show, and making their own forums. We made loads of friends through, like, the MySpace forum back in the day, you know, and yeah, so we're playing, the forum in Kentish Town. We're playing in Leeds as well at the Project House, and in Glasgow. So we're doing 3 sort of key shows, really. And that's kind of the anniversary shows. But we've been touring all year. We just came back from Mexico, which was like a, I suppose every show has been a bit of like an anniversary show in a way. For that record, is, you know, 20 years and of us as a band. So,
well, as I say, I'm very much looking forward to seeing you live. It's my first time seeing the Magic Numbers live as well, so I'm really looking forward to that. Funny enough, actually, we were looking to see you before COVID, but then COVID hit, and that was really annoying. So then jobs, relationships, partners, and things like that, it all gets in the mix over the 5 years. And now 5 years has come, and me and my friend are both at the right time. We're like, we're gonna go, and we just made a point to book the tickets straight away, get it done.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Well, you have to come say no. We need a drink together.
Yes, definitely. I need to start talking to you now, though, about your solo music. I adore this music you have out solo, by the way. I don't know how aware you are of the other stuff I do, but I have an Americana radio show, and, you know, that's my music is Americana, folk, country, blues, this kind of stuff, and it suits really into your solo work. I feel it's quite different to what you do with the band, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose, like, Magic Numbers is a band, so in that sense, that's how I'd sort of see it differently. It's I mean, and it's such a hard thing to say because they're both part of me as well. So it's like, but yeah, I think I would sort of say, one's definitely sort of singer-songwriter, and the other one's a band. Yeah, so in that sense, it's totally different in that way.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I do want to ask is for yourself, because we've spoken about the band dynamic quite a bit. So let's talk about how's that dynamic different when you're making music yourself? What's, you know, obviously you haven't necessarily gone solo, but you do make solo music. So what's it like making solo music? What's the difference between that and making music with the band? How does it differ from each other?
Yeah, well, there's no family members in my No. I think that was a joke. If my brother ever saw this, hopefully he'd laugh. But it's sort of like, I suppose it's quite an insular sort of, you know, very personal process. And, you know, writing the songs, I suppose I'm writing for my voice and the story and the experiences that I've kind of shared, but also that kind of connection that I want with people as well, and someone listening to the song, and hopefully that they can draw their own experience from it.
Mm.
And it's kind of like also
Mm.
when I'm recording and in the studio with my songs as well, it's
Mm.
because I live with the song so much as just me and the guitar. Sometimes it's taken
Mm.
such a long time to kind of imagine
Yeah.
any other instrumentation on it. I remember when I first did the first solo record, um, it was hard to because I live with I wrote those most of those songs on there, like, from when I was, like, 16, 17, so it
Mm.
was, like, a long kind of part of me living with it as
Yeah.
just guitar.
Mm.
So I think a lot of, like, the studio process for me as a solo artist is, like, an uncovering of, like, um, an exploration and a sort of, like, a discovery, I think, and trying to kinda work out what this how this song wants to kind of I don't know, what how can I how can I best serve the story of the song
Yeah.
and the atmosphere that I wanna create for the record? And this last record obviously has been Invitation was a total kind of unconsciously so, it turned into a very kind of concept record in a way. Um, and so therefore I wanted it to have a continuous sort of sound,
Mm.
um, and sort of an experience, it's called Invitation in that way of inviting someone in to sort of sit with me a little bit
Yeah.
and sit together in something. Um, so yeah, I think every record as well is different. Um, yeah, and then
Yeah. I
taking
mean,
it live as well is a whole other thing. Sorry.
well, no, certainly. I mean, this is all I've ever seen you play live is apart from obviously joining in with Hannah White on stage is your own solo music.
Mm,
That's what I've seen you play live so far. And yeah, it's obviously I've listened to the studio versions and the versions solo on stage with just you and a guitar, and uh, the testament to the songs is that they stand up either way and they work so well both ways because they are
mm,
just solid
mm,
tunes. Like they work so well. They are just brilliant songs. And I wanted to ask about those songs because obviously I've been listening to your music a lot, and I it's very personal. I feel
mm,
the songs that come out when you do your solo work, especially on the latest record, which by the way I think is an absolute triumph. By the way, I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's brilliant. Um,
mm,
are there any themes that I mean, you kind of alluded to it in a way that you said this newest record has a sort of concept going through it, but are there any kind of themes that you do tend to write about, especially given sort of the personal nature of the music?
mm. Oh, well, first, thanks for saying that, Dan. That really
Nice.
means a lot. Like,
Genuinely my thoughts. Genuinely my thoughts.
oh, no, it's, you know, uh, you can sort of spiral and think, get in your head a little bit with stuff. And I think,
Mm.
I've spoken to Hannah loads about this and a lot of
Mm.
friends, who, sort of, and I don't know whether it's like you're in the center and you're kind of doing that sort of, you know, solo thing, I suppose,
Yeah.
or, I'm sure my brother gets it as well, when he's sort of, and, there is that kind of like, you start to sort of overthink things and
Yeah.
whether it's like self-doubt or just you just start to get in your way. And and it's just nice to kind of have, I suppose, support and, um other people behind it.
Mm.
And yeah, so yeah, I appreciate that. And
No, not a problem.
yeah, I think like when I start writing, like I write a lot. So I'm always sort of writing on my phone or in many, many notebooks. And and sometimes they, whether it turns into kind of poetry or whether it sort of stays in the notebook for forever,
Mm.
and whether I kind of put some melodies to it or, start to accompany some of the words with guitar. It's sort of I suppose it's like a lot of reflection and a lot of like things that I'm still kind of processing um, through maybe different relationships or different experience that has happened. Some of the songs on this last record, Invitation, was, you know, a lot about like past relationship that was, you know,
Mm.
quite abusive, and so there was a lot of like mental health sort of stuff, you
Yeah.
know, uncovering, sort of discovering of yourself, and
Mm.
almost like being sort of, you know, having a birth again into
Yeah.
life, but also mostly just like into myself, you know, and trying to kind of find my voice through that. And then
Mm.
there's a song on there for my daughter as well, about touring and being on the road, and again
Yeah.
that sort of like, you know, life experience and being a mum,
Mm.
trying to
That's a
figure it all
beautiful
out.
song, by the way. That is a
Oh,
beautiful song, by the way, I will
thank
say. Yeah.
And then like the record kind of moves, and the second sort of half of it sort of talks about a new relationship and that hope of
Mm.
something else, and a different way to love, and a different way, you know, how love can feel. And yeah, so it took me a long time to release it because it was so
Mm.
personal.
Yeah.
uh, and when I start to write songs now and think about another record, um, I'm always like, what do I want to say? You know, what is it that I want to say now? You
Yeah.
know, are there still things that's lingering? Is it, but you know, there's so much going on in the world at the moment as well. And you feel the weight and the responsibility of all
Mm.
those things as
Yeah.
well as a writer. Um, so yeah, I'm sort of in the thick of that at the moment, sort of writing and working out what the next album might be, or what it sort of, where the stories might take me, really. And I
Yeah.
think having these conversations and chats with people actually help you to kind of work that out as well.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, I feel like this record to me, obviously, as you say, it's deeply personal, and you know, there's a lot of hardship that's gone into real life that's ended up being there to make the record, but at the same time, there's a real nobility to it from yourself, because it's an album that, for somebody who's going through similar, and it, you know, what you're talking about here, these are things that happen to nearly everyone in the world, experiences these kind of things at some point in time. There's an ability to it, because putting this record out gives someone a chance to hear it, and that helps them through it, I guess, doesn't it?
I hope so. You know, I do hope so. I think like the um in the smallest and in the biggest way, I hope it does. You know, and that's, I also think like I've had records that I've lived with for years, and it didn't hit me, or it hit me in the sense of like I love it, but then later on when I'm going through something, that's when that song
Yeah.
really makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And it's like that person saying exactly what I want to say, and so I think that's, for me, that's the kind of you know, evolution in a way with music, and it lasts forever, and it's sort of, you know, and you can always go back to it. So if the record didn't hit anyone in the first round, hopefully it hits them on the second and the third, and you know, and it goes
Exactly.
like that. And I think, you know, hearing from people's responses to the record and how it's actually connected with a lot of people, therefore has kind of made me a little bit braver, actually,
Yeah.
to share the vulnerability, um, and to kind of, I don't know, sort of, it it sort of did what I was hoping. Oh, well, I don't know if that makes any sense. It sort of did maybe what I could have like maybe wished for, in a way. It brought me some really close connections with people, and that's all I wanted with the record. And I think, like, you know, I released it as a crowdfunder and independently, and I was so happy I did that. Like, 'cause it was just, I don't know, I just, it was something I hadn't done in that way before, and it just helped me feel a lot more connected with the album, but also with the people who were there with it, really.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those records that is definitely one that people will discover, and it will mean something to them at some point in their life. They will find it at the right time, and it will be there for them. And yeah, I'm just going to say, you did mention crowdfunder there. I've been supporting some crowdfunders lately, so I do actually want to say, support your crowdfunders, people, as well.
Exactly.
Support them for artists, independent artists.
Yeah.
It really does make a huge difference. So
Definitely.
I do want to say that as well. I want to ask you also about what's coming up in the future for Michele Stodart, because obviously we've got the tour with the Magic Numbers, but I know there's other things in the works that we've kind of been, you kind of told me a bit about as we've been, you know, talking over email, organizing this this conversation. So can you tell people more about what's coming up soon?
So I wanted to release, well, we did during the record, we did 2 shows at St. Pancras Old Church in London, in King's Cross. And one was the launch night of the record, Invitation, and then sort of year after, we did like a year anniversary of it.
Oh yeah.
In as you do. But as in the interim of that, I had back surgery, so I went to the hospital, and I had, you know, I was in the hospital for a few months, and so then we did another night in St. Pancras after that, and those shows were just so special for me, both because it was just the absolute journey between both of them in a way, and we recorded both of them. And so I was living with the recordings, and I was like, I wonder if we could put out a live record. So actually on the 7th of November, the live album comes out and songs from both those shows are featured on the live record. And so yeah, I've always wanted to put out a live album, and really was like, you know, it's been such a joy playing with the solo band and, you know, friends together on stage, and they really sort of turned all the songs around from, you know, the sound of the album to then taking it live. And so we're doing an album launch show on the 8th of November at the Sound Lounge. Sure, Hannah and Kieran will be there. I'm going to give them a squeeze. But yeah, that's going to be, and I love playing the Sound Lounge. They're like my second family, I think. The people there in Sutton, it's just,
it's a lovely venue.
Yeah, just lovely. And they've been so supportive of me as well. And then I'm doing another show on a boat, and I'm going to try and see if I can find what date that is. I think it's the 26th. Yeah, 26th of November, at the Golden Hind in London. And yeah, that's going to be lots of fun. And yeah, so the live record will come out, and doing those shows, and then just some more collaboration stuff that are, you know, and projects I've been working on with in Scotland a lot with the young sort of youths and the young adults over there, and songwriting retreats. So doing that again, and that's been super rewarding and inspiring to be there at the beginning stage of that sort of process for a lot of, you know, young writers who are kind of learning and just, you know, excited by it all. So that's going to be a record that's going to come out next year. And I'm also doing this project with some Canadian musicians and artists. So yeah, it's been a busy, beautiful time, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, hopefully at some point you get a chance to relax after all of that, because that's a lot of work on you. But for people who I know when this episode's coming out, so I know that this Friday that live album will be out. So for anybody who thought their Friday morning commute was going to be a bit gloomy, there's now a piece of light at the end of the tunnel there with with your new live album coming out, so people can listen to that on their commute, nice in the morning and nice and peaceful.
Yes.
And
Well,
chilling out
actually,
listening to that.
sadly, well, not sadly, but I'm not putting it out on digital streaming till much later. I know.
Oh, so
This
some
is very
people,
much
they'll have to wait.
yeah. But you can pre-order the album now.
There you go.
And I'll post it out to you. And it's sort of like a deliberate thing, because I wanted to say thank you just for everyone who's kind of come physically to the live shows.
Yeah, lots of artists are doing that now.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's kind of a blank canvas out there at the moment. We can try out lots of different things as an independent artist, so it's scary and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
But we're all in it together, I think.
Yeah.
And like you said, support the crowdfunders, support artists, go out and see live shows, support grassroots music venues, support podcasts like this, and just everything. Yeah, everything. Just get behind anything creative that you love, and is out there, because it's great that lots of people creating stuff. It's a colorful, beautiful world when we let it be.
Yes, exactly the case. Exactly the case. And that's a lovely message for us to wrap up on. Obviously, we will quickly wrap up off the recording, obviously. But Michelle, I would like to say a huge thank you to you for coming onto the podcast today. Everyone, go and check out Invitation. It's a fantastic record. Check out the Magic Numbers tour. Check out Michelle's live shows as well. Thank you so much, Michelle, for coming on to Music Fishbowl.
Thank you so much for having me, Dan, and see you soon. I'll see you in the crowd.
Yes, you will. See you soon.
See you.